back now at 11:15, and a news conference on the cleanup after Tropical Storm Henri is happening right now.
Yeah, it's in Canterbury. Let's listen in. Senator Richard Blumenthal is speaking.
Keep the pressure on strongly so that performance is rewarded, not simply the costs of repair or maintenance. And there's a lot to be done to make this system more resilient. Part of what we're doing in Washington is an infrastructure program that will, in fact, create and reward resiliency. Part of our infrastructure program is aimed at resiliency and climate change, and we need to do more of it in Connecticut and provide more investment in Connecticut. So I think we're moving in the right direction on a number of fronts, and obviously we're going to be watching this situation to see whether that last number of homes is down to 25% now, still out, see how quickly they are restored in Canterbury and elsewhere around the state.
Thanks, Dick. Really quickly, let me just thank the First Selectman, the Governor, for getting Connecticut ready for this storm. Obviously, this is not close to worst case. But we always plan for worst case, and I want to thank everybody around the state who took steps yesterday to put themselves into safe situations, to check on their neighbors, to make sure their neighbors were okay. We look out for each other in Connecticut, and I think that's part of the story as to how we got through the day. It's sunny here, but it is still raining pretty hard in western parts of the state, and so we still have to monitor this storm. There's going to be a lot of rain that's going to fall on Connecticut today. There's still a potential for trees to come down and for significant flooding throughout the state. Our job as a federal delegation is to make sure that every dollar of federal reimbursement comes to Connecticut that we're deserved under law. So we'll be working with the governor and the governor's team over the course of the next few days to assess the amount of damage in Connecticut and see if we qualify for federal reimbursement. Obviously, we don't have the kind of damage that we thought we were going to have. So we'll very carefully monitor damage assessments. We'll talk to all the towns as to how much money they've expended, and we'll make sure to bring every dollar to Connecticut that we are allowed under federal law. But as much as I think Connecticut is breathing a collective sigh of relief today, let's just remember that this storm is still circling around the state, and we still may see some additional impacts over the course of the day. More reason to remain vigilant. I'll add, I think the utilities have learned some lessons, and we're better prepared this storm than they have been in the past. I want to thank FEMA for being in constant touch with the delegation and with the governor, pre-positioning assets in Connecticut so that if we had the worst case, we would have been prepared. I think everybody stepped up and did their part, and let's watch the day as it proceeds to make sure this doesn't get any worse. The delegation will be vigilant about making sure that we get the federal dollars here that we need should we qualify for those programs. Governor?
Yeah, I'll just add to what Senator Murphy said. We made sure the utilities were prepared for the worst, and that was not the case last time around. And that meant the nursing homes and water filtration systems and all those critical infrastructure were risked, not to mention the people who live on the street. Their power is back up. Chris, thank you for welcoming us to beautiful Canterbury. All your streets are open almost, except for this one, thanks to us. I think we are better prepared. Henri did us a little bit of a favor, did Rhode Island no favors by taking a right turn and hitting landfall in Westerly, and we've sent some folks up to help there. I see the crews back here with Eversource. One guy's from Vermont, another from New Hampshire. They came from all over the region, rolled up their sleeves. And this is the town that had 95% of their power off. And today, almost everybody is on, and everybody I've been promised by Eversource will be on by the end of today. I just got off with the emergency operations team. It's sort of interesting what you find out. The Coast Guard is now flying up and down the coast to see what's at risk there. Red Cross is closing down their shelters at this point, ended up not needing them as much as we might have. Katie Dykes over at Environmental Protection is now rechecking all the dams. We checked them before the potential flooding. Now we're seeing them after the flooding. While Eversource's number of people who are without power is going down, United Illuminating, which has a lot more underground power, they've announced, a few outages related there. So obviously wind gets the power lines in forested areas like this. UI, more underground, that's where there's a little more risk. But as, Senator Blumenthal said, we're holding the utilities accountable. And we have performance-based regulation that's in place. And but little credit where credit's due. I think they stepped up. They had twice as many folks on the ground ready to go this time as last time, and that's the way we got to do it. Let's make this the norm. Thanks, everybody.
How do you guys separate the fact, your assessment of Eversource with the fact that the storm obviously just wasn't as severe here as we expected?
Well, it's some of both, but there were still 95% of the houses were without power right here in Canterbury. And you got to get the trucks here, you got to be able to manage that, and you got to prepare for the worst. You cannot allow these critical structures to go without power like almost happened in Isaiah.
I think we have to recognize the magnitude of the storm was far, far less than predicted. We were all ready for another Superstorm Sandy. And the utilities had many more crews on the ground. They were multiples in the range of 4,000 as opposed to 450 last time. Those are rough estimates, but certainly the utilities heard our message loud and clear, and they heard the governor and the legislature.
Okay, so you have just heard from Connecticut's governor, and it's 2 U.S. senators on the storm cleanup there in Canterbury, which starting at about 11 o'clock, around this time yesterday, became the town in the state that had the most power outages, and it sort of held that title, the title that you don't want, until about 2 or 3 hours ago. There's been a lot of work to restore that town.
As far as the town goes, they were pretty much 100% without power. And
Just
right now,
about.
last checked, they only have about 507 outages left. That's 22% of the town. So certainly huge improvements. And that's just one of the last few towns with outages at this point, at least when it comes to Eversource.